Welcome to the program, The Uganda We Want. My name is Robert Malanzi and I'm privileged to be with you today. Thank you so much for watching and for following us on all our social media platforms. We are grateful. In case you follow us and share with your friends, you let them know that, okay, this program airs Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday. We are grateful for that. And just to remind you, this program, The Uganda We Want, brings in people, or we host people here who air out their views on issues which they would love to see dealt with so fast so that we can achieve the Uganda we want. And today, we discuss the kind of Uganda we want with How Worship, the Deputy Lord Mayor, Doreen Nyanjura. Doreen Nyanjura is a Ugandan politician who was on the 18th of June 2020, during the lockdown, appointed Deputy Lord Mayor for Kampala. She also serves as the elected local council 5 woman councillor representing Makerere University at Kampala Capital City Authority. And this is the governing body, of course, for Kampala, the capital and largest city of Uganda. She was elected to have her present position in 2016. So today, let's welcome Doreen Nyanjura. You're welcome. Thank you for giving us time to speak to us, the Uganda we want. Can you please greet our viewers?
Thank you so much, and greetings to all the viewers. I'm glad to be on this show. Shows like this, the only means or the largest means through which we communicate to those that voted for us and to those that we represent. I'm glad to be here.
Well, yeah, thank you so much for your time, as I've said, and if in case you want to keep the discussion going on, please, you can visit our social media platforms, Facebook at Dream TV Uganda, Instagram at Dream TV Uganda, and Twitter at Dream TV Uganda, and the Uganda We Want on Twitter at Uganda We Want. So you can keep the discussion going on. If you want to comment, if you want to share or like, please just reach to us on our social media platforms. And well, How Worship, Deputy Lord Mayor, well, that's the title that many people may be familiar with, but we'd love to know, who is Doreen Nyanjura, briefly?
Well, Doreen Nyanjura is a Ugandan, definitely. She was born in one of the forgotten villages in this country called Nyamabuga in a Chenjojo district. I was born 32 years ago. And well, before anything else, before being Deputy Lord Mayor, Nyanjura is an activist. Nyanjura is an activist for the downtrodden. Nyanjura is an activist for the ordinary women. Nyanjura is an activist for youths, and Nyanjura is an activist for those that are differently abled. Many of which many love to call them the PWDs. I'm a human rights activist. So before all these titles come in, first and foremost, I'm an activist.
Wow.
Yes, and I'm a leader. I should say from the time I joined school, nursery school, I have been a leader. I have always been a leader. Yes.
Well, I believe you have what we call academic qualifications. And what did you qualify in?
Well, I have told people my story and they have really found it funny. I joined secondary school at a time when sciences were not compulsory. And in my senior 2, I couldn't wait to abandon science subjects. When I was done with my senior 2, I don't remember whether it was senior 2 or senior 3, where I would select what we really wanted to specialize in. I'm one of the few students that had to do away with the science books. I was that biased. Never mind that my father is a science teacher. He actually teaches physics and pure math, but I was so biased. I cannot explain why, but I think there's a lot of peer pressure. You join a school and everyone is telling you that sciences are hard. So just after I had disposed of all my science books, that is the time that sciences were made compulsory. So I was forced to do sciences. I think we are the pioneers that made the sciences compulsory. So of course I went through senior 4, then I went to A-level. And unfortunately at A-level, there you're given an option. You do subjects which you excelled in. So at A-level, I did LD, and I joined campus. Now, before I joined campus, there are these forms that you fill. They are the job forms.
The job forms, yeah.
So I think the best course for me would have been social sciences. But because I was so biased about sciences, when I saw the word sciences,
science, you thought of
I said,
no.
no. I cannot go back. I cannot go back to sciences. So that is how I ended up doing tourism at Makerere University. And surprisingly, tourism is more of a science course, but because of this bias, and that is why I want to start up a campaign in my capacity as a Deputy Lord Mayor. I think people really, yes, career guidance is there, but I think it's not up to the latter. Some students don't understand, and I can tell you I was a victim, yeah? When I saw the word sciences, I said, no way. Social sciences, no, there's no, I can go back to sciences. So yes, at Makerere University, I did tourism, and but I've always wanted to be a lawyer, and I hope one day I'll study to become a lawyer. But because I was a government student, my dad told me, no, you can now study what you have been offered. If you want to do law, you can always go back. I also hold a postgraduate in public policy and governance, and several certificates in leadership. I'm currently doing my master's in gender and women's studies, and I'm in my 2nd year.
Wow.
Yes.
So yeah, you said you're a human activist, and I just want to know, just before we go into the Uganda we want, what motivated you really to become a human activist?
I think it is the background. I come from the family background, and the way I was brought up. For me, at a very tender age, my father told me, wrong is wrong. And if something is right, it is right. I remember at some point, one of my siblings was suspended from school. And the crime was that she had failed to clean a trench. And she was suspended. So when she went home, my father asked her, why did you refuse to clean the trench? And the response was, I was forced to clean a trench, and yet the composition of a trench. There are all sorts of garbage. Yes, so my sibling said, I didn't have a glove, and therefore I could not do what? I could not go ahead and clean the trench. And my father told her, you're right. So for me, it is the upbringing. If something is wrong, it is wrong. I am not going to pretend that something is right. And I also come from a very staunch UPC family. And, my parents, my great-great-parents were all from a UPC family. So I grew up from that family where something is wrong, it is wrong, and you don't need to debate about it.
No need to pretend.
There's no need to pretend about it. And my father would tell me, yes, this is right, this is wrong. This is right, this is wrong. So for me, if something is wrong, even if 99% of the remaining people are saying yes, for me, I will say no if something is wrong. So for me, that is the background. And but I think sometimes it's a conviction. I think it stopped being about the background and it became a conviction. For me, I feel it's my obligation. If something is wrong, if there's an injustice somewhere, I have to come out and speak up. Because I don't know, man. There are people out there who are going through a lot of injustices, but they don't have the voice. They cannot talk for themselves. And therefore, for me, I am always here to avail myself to speak on behalf of those people. The women in the market, I've talked about the PWDs. These people have a lot of issues, and I think they need a voice.
How can those issues be addressed to achieve the Uganda we want? Let's start from there.
Well, I can give you an example of, because I've talked about the ordinary women. Currently, if you look at Kampala, we have so many women in markets, so many women on the streets. And I think you know that scores have been arrested, their merchandise spoiled and confiscated. And for us, our policy directive as policymakers here has been to appeal to government to increase the funding that they give to KCCA so that we create more working spaces for the growing army of the urban poor. Because if you look at Kampala, we only have 16 government markets and the remaining 68 markets are all private markets. And you're saying, look, beating these people using the army cannot be a solution. Unfortunately, they have turned a blind ear to that. And just over the weekend, I was at Makere University, and this was a function, an exhibition by the PWDs. Now, the PWDs, there's a grant that is given to them, but that grant is very minimal. That grant can hardly do anything. And you know what their calling was? They told me, Deputy Lord Mayor, instead of government giving us money, government should equip us with skills. Government should give us skills so that we're able to make our own liquid soap, so that we are able to make our own chalk, so that we are able to make our own crafts. You get what I'm talking about? So we are talking about maybe industrialization. And we had industries before that can equip our youths, that can equip our women with the skills that you want. Now, the other thing about, of course, one of the things that we are facing, a person that have been arrested over 20 times. Yeah? So for me, the Uganda I want is a Uganda where human rights are going to be accepted, where voices of dissent are going to be respected. I do not have to agree with NRM. I do not have to agree with whatever Mr. Museveni says, and I must be respected. My freedom to say that they do not agree with should be respected. And for me, that is the Uganda that I am looking for. I am looking for a Uganda where employment opportunities are not just a matter of who knows who. They are not just a matter of connections. I am looking at job employment in terms of qualifications. For me, that is the Uganda that I am looking for.
This one, okay, is qualified, let's say, in tourism, and there's a job opportunity, so he or she...
Yes, it shouldn't. Yes, it shouldn't be about those that are connected. It should be about who qualifies. Okay. Yes, and I am looking at mothers who are dying every day. We have just lost our speaker. And I was watching someone saying, yes, the speaker was here in the US and he wanted to talk to his family, but he couldn't talk to the father. The family wasn't there. You know, I think you know the distance and how much it would cost for the family to travel from here. You get it?
It's only a few that can manage who went there.
Exactly. Yeah, and most likely a few, the people who traveled, apart from the brother, the rest are not part of his family. You know, I saw his brother saying that he so much wanted to talk to the father. So if we had a functional health system, I believe these are things really, wouldn't see our speaker dying to talk to the father and that opportunity is denied to him. And we have so many people who have died that same way. You get it? I have been telling people that we are all victims. Whether you're rich, whether you're from a humble background.
One day, one time you will be a victim.
One day when you fall sick, first of all, the time that is required, you know, to charter you from here to the other side, even then your health is deteriorating. We have seen also Nobo Mayombo. So what is happening to these people, big people, is what happens every day to the ordinary people. So we are all victims. For me, the most important thing that this government needs to address is the kind of health system that we have in this country. For me, that is the Uganda that I am praying for.
How can we address the health system issue so that we can have the system that is for the people in this country?
Of course, that is not hard. If you look at these other countries that we so much admire now, the likes of Singapore, there are quite many. A few years ago, they were at the same level with Uganda. So for me, it is just a matter of priority. What is this government's priority?
Does that take us back to the budget?
No.
Or just the plan?
Some things, it's not real about the budget. It is about priority. If you are saying we are now going to prioritize security, can we say for once that our priority is going to be the health system? Because for me, this excuse of saying there's no money, I think it's also a tired excuse. Because I can give you an example of KCCA itself. Yeah? In our last term, we had 34 councillors. Now the number has increased to 54. The whole of Kampala, I think we're around 300 something. Now we're around 600. New constituencies were created. And this does not only stop in Kampala. When you look at our parliament, people are even struggling.
529.
Yes, people are even struggling, to raise their hands. I'm told you have to be friends with the speaker so that when you go in parliament, you have to be given an opportunity to talk.
There is an order paper made before the real order.
Yes, you have to go there and say, please, speaker,
Today let me say something.
Today let me say something. And you have to be very good to the speaker so that you're given an opportunity. You get it? Meaning you'll not even say something probably that will annoy the speaker, because next time you want to say something, you'll not be given an opportunity. And you remember they had transferred the chambers to the field. Can you imagine? But do we need all these MPs? You get it. Look at our cabinet. What does the law say? Why must we now have 80 ministers? Is it necessary?
Because it's for bonus. I don't know if it was granted.
No, so for me, these are things that really are consuming a lot of money, and yet our health system is going down the drain. Why should Kampala, for example, have 6 RDCs? Are you aware of that? That each division has an RCC? And then also Kampala? Why should Kampala, for example, have 2 ministers? And you know the budget of...
The cabinet minister and the minister of state.
Cabinet minister and the minister of state to specifically deal with Kampala.
You have the executive director.
You have the executive director. You have the Lord Mayor. You have the deputy Lord Mayor. You have councillors. You get it. So for me, it's just a matter of priorities. Unfortunately, the priority of this government seems to be on protecting one man to die in office. And I think everything that is happening in this country leads to that. I've read a book called The Dictator's Handbook. And if you read that book, you get to understand how dictators operate. Now, the way dictators usually operate, they will concentrate on a few individuals, give them everything that they want. You get it? So it will be those few individuals that will be used to exploit the remaining big percentage. And in Uganda, we are being controlled by 10% of the population. These are people that Museveni will give everything. He will give them the army. He will give them protection. He will give them the money to squeeze and exploit the remaining 90% of Ugandans. And that is how dictators operate, because they cannot manage to bribe the entire country. They cannot manage to bribe the whole country. So they'll get a small percentage that they will protect. And for me, unless the 90% of the Ugandans that are wallowing in poverty stand up and fight for their rights, definitely we are going to stay in this same situation. And Ugandans need to stop this habit of thinking that there are a few individuals who are supposed to fight for them. Liberating this country, fighting for better living conditions is not an obligation of Nyanjura. It's not an obligation of the Lord Mayor. It is not an obligation of Besigye or Bobby Wine. This is an obligation of all citizens who are currently not doing well. I think you have heard this. And for me, there's a time when I really felt disappointed.
Well, how isn't that really bringing up something that you're causing, violence? You're leading people into demonstration, and something that is not really, we shouldn't leverage in this country.
What do you mean? As
As
far
in, like,
as I'm concerned, by the way, demonstrations, it's one of the ways through which citizens can demonstrate their dissatisfaction.
Then we ask which kind of
And
demonstration.
actually, Article 3 of the Constitution even allows us to find other means as long as we feel our rights are not being respected. But for us in the Red Card Front, for us in FDC, we believe in the non-violence struggle. And we are guided by Gene Sharp. And he has his book called From Dictatorship to Democracy. I think that is one of our Bibles, and we follow it up to the dot. So calling upon citizens to rise up and fight for themselves is something really that I needed not even remind them, because for me that should be a natural calling. You get it? When you feel you're being squeezed, you react. You don't even have to wait for Nyanjura to remind you that you actually have to come up and fight for your rights, because we are talking about citizens who are sleeping hungry. We are talking about citizens who could afford at least 1 meal a day. But currently, even getting that 1 meal a day is a challenge, because we are talking about now inflation. We are talking about people who used to buy a kilo of posho at 2,000. Currently, they are selling this at 2,500. We are talking about people who have been buying a kilo of rice at 3,000. Currently, it is at 3,500. We are talking about people who have been buying soap at 4,000, and currently it is at 8,000. There's this common saying of they came for the trade unionists and they didn't speak out. They came for the capitalists, they didn't speak out. They came for the Catholics, we didn't speak out because we thought we are not Catholics. I think now they have come for us. Everyone in Uganda is currently being affected. And please, now is the time for you to rise up and do something. Use what you have, start from where you are, raise your voice. This country needs us right now.
Well, let's dig deeper into now the Kampala you want to see.
You see, people make a mistake of thinking that Kampala is an island. Now, allow me inform those that are viewing this show that Kampala is part of Uganda. And whatever challenges, whatever problems are happening in Uganda, those challenges are also happening in Kampala. Now, first and foremost, for me as a leader at KCCA, I would love to see a Kampala where elected leaders are respected, where institutions are respected. My friend, it's not easy to go through an election. Talk about myself. We are talking about the Nup wave that almost swept the entire Kampala, and I'm one of the people that survived. We are talking about an election in Kampala. It was only in Makerere University where they brought tear gas and bullets and arrested most of my agents. So I won this election against all odds. And you know what? The Lord Mayor has had to go through all this time. So winning an election is not something that should be taken for granted. We win elections to come here and serve our people. And we feel that we need to be respected. So I need a Kampala where institutions, where laws are going to be respected. I can give you an example, and I mean this has been recurring every now and then. Why should a minister of Kampala position himself or herself to be the political head of Kampala? A minister, mayorally appointed? Does that make sense to you? On several occasions, because we speak for our people, we know what is happening on the ground. And we are saying, the people are saying, it's okay, they can't be regulated, but let them continue doing their street vending on the streets. Because even when you move world over, they are street vendors. The only difference is that they are regulated. And we have carried out investigations. We have carried out consultations with the vendors. We have come out, sat in council and passed streets where we think the street vending can be done. Well, then one day, the president summons his appointed leaders, the RCC, and he says, I don't want any of the street vendors on the markets. Why would you use an army
to chase them away?
To chase away a mother whose capital is only 10,000. And then you bring her to court where maybe she's supposed to get justice and she's remanded or told to pay 500,000. Does that make sense? So what is the essence of having us as political leaders? Are we not supposed to make decisions for our people? Are these decisions not supposed to be respected? So that is the kind of Kamanyiro that I am talking about. That you come here, you say A because you have done all the consultations, and it will take an RCC. Can you imagine an RCC? According to our constitution, an RCC is an advisor to the Lord Mayor. The RCC of Kampala is my advisor.
That's the KCCA.
Yes, Act. The KCCA Act. But now the RCC has become a president in the city. And who is supporting him? He's being supported by the president and the military. And for me, that is why I've been telling the people of Kampala that, you know what? I think now is the time for me to remove the suit, join you on the streets and fight for you. Because where I am, they have sent an army and have also been suffocated. So for me, if institutions cannot be respected, then that is not the Uganda that we want. Number two.
Before you go to number two, because you're stating a very important point here, and I want the viewers really to understand. My question that you might have skipped, may probably been airing out a few things. Who is not respecting your positions or your position and the institution?
Well, but I already cited examples. I talked about Mr. Museveni, the head of state. I talked about the RCC, and I also talked about the minister. Yes, and I also talked about the minister. And this does not only apply to the current minister. It also applies to the ministers. You know,
so this has been happening.
Yes, this has been happening ever since KCCA was created. So these are the people that have continued on a daily basis because they have the protection of the army. These are the people that every now and then continue to abuse the KCCA Act. These are the people that continue to do roles that are not meant to be there. So this has been recurring. Okay. And the people of Kampala are lucky that they have leaders who can fight for their space. Trust me, if this Kampala did not have areas Lukwago, maybe and Nyanjura, and maybe these leaders who are aggressive and they can say, come what may, we are going to defend our people. Even the little things that we have been able to do for the Kampala residents, we would not have done them.
So are you saying that the government that is not respecting your position or the institution, they are not for people, it's you who are for people?
Well, if they were for people, then they would be doing things that are pro-people. Unfortunately, they are not doing things that are pro-people. And I was going to my point number two. Look at Kampala. Kampala is the capital city. But when you move around Kampala, it's more like a modern village. You get it? That the whole of Kampala, we only have 10 functional garbage trucks. I don't know if they are still 10 by the way. Probably even if now they have reduced to 6. And for us as political leaders, our cry has been, please, give us more money and we purchase more garbage trucks. Because you're supposed to collect garbage free of charge from the slums. And if you look at Kampala, more than 50% of Kampala is made up of slums. But Kampala says no. But central government says no. That is not one of the priorities. That should go in unfunded priorities. Number two, we are talking, because people keep, a few years ago, we launched the Kampala strategic plan, which was presided over by the Prime Minister then, Nduguru Hakana Rugunda. Now, to implement that strategic plan, we need 7 trillion. But do you know how much the KCCA budget is? 419. But we are talking about a strategic plan, which is 7 trillion. You get it?
And you're talking of 419
billion. Now, for me, that is not the Kampala that I want. I want a Kampala where when we say as leaders that, these are our priorities. This is what the people of Kampala want. I expect that to be respected. We are talking about the money that is given to the road construction. Actually, it has been even trimmed further. Now it is around 20 billion. And do you expect to have a Kampala that is smart? Do you expect to have a Kampala that does not have potholes? And then you wonder, really? Because if you look at the roads that we have in Kampala, most of the roads do not actually go beyond 10 kilometers, right? Most of the roads are 5 kilometers, 2 kilometers, 1 kilometer. Am I wrong? These roads are not, they are not as long as the roads that we have in the village. But you'll find roads are being constructed in the villages. And they're spending a lot of money. And you know what the people are using those roads for? You've seen them drying cassava, maize. You've even seen some people from Chiruhura posing for photos
on the newly
constructed road. You get it? So for me, we are talking about priority. That the roads we are talking about in Kampala, they are not even very long roads. Can we for once say that maybe for this financial year, all our efforts are going to be at constructing the roads that we have in Kampala? I am sorry, I'm not sounding selfish because I also have a village. I come from Chenjojo. But this is the capital city. It should be the mirror. You get it?
What other towns and cities?
Yes, that when someone is coming in the capital city, at times when I'm moving in the city, I don't even want people to see me. Because I feel embarrassed. You're an elected leader. And you're also moving around. Floods are everywhere. Your car is also about to be swallowed. You get it? But I mean, it's not me. It is central government. And we are saying 70% of all the money is generated and collected by government. That money comes from Kampala. Can we at least get back 3% of that money that is collected in Kampala? But you know what? We get less than 1%. So for me, unless we still have all these issues, until we have a government in power that thinks taking care of its citizens is not a priority, then we are going to suffer. And I heard you ask, and actually this I have just remembered, that who is not respecting us. Let me give you an example of when we are hit by COVID-19. Now, when we are hit by COVID-19, even I think the first year we officially closed was 2020. You remember?
That's it. In March.
Museveni sat.
March 18th.
And brought Chris Varyomunsi, brought some other ministers from Eastern Uganda, brought in the army to start distributing food in Kampala. These are people who do not even know Kampala. Because they have their constituencies that they represent up country. You remember the people that were brought in? None of them was actually a representative from Kampala. But these were the people moving door to door, doing the work that we, the elected leaders, are supposed to do. Even when the second lockdown came. Do you know who was in charge? I hope you remember. Was it not the RCCs? I remember actually, was it Unyanga? Even saw an RCC beating his boss, the LC5 chairman. So for me, these things are deliberate, to weaken the elected leaders. So you know where the problem is coming from. But when things go wrong, they call us to account. They call us to explain what went wrong. And how many people got the money, for example, in Kampala?
The 100,000.
In what? Because for us, we did a survey. We had a meeting with the LC1 chairman, and they were telling us, no, you people, the money was received by NRM supporters. The money was received by NRM cadres. And the people who were meant to receive this money, who were severely affected by the lockdown, were not given anything. You get it? So you see where the challenge is coming from. Institutions are not respected at all. And this does not stop at Kampala. I've told you, Kampala is not an island. It's everywhere. It is countrywide. I've been an activist. I've been arrested countless times. You'll go to court, and they'll call you on the sides. And they tell you if you want to be granted bail, so kotulavemu. Bako kotuwayo. You get it? So you refuse, they will ask for 300, you tell them you don't have money. When you eventually appear in court, they will now revenge and they will ask for 1 million. And then you start saying, I wish I had paid the 300,000 they have been asking for. Now, eventually, bail will be granted to you. Now, if it is a cash bail, the clerk is supposed to take for you, I think they're supposed to give you a form, which you'll take to the bank. And she's also supposed to tape your bail form. And now your sureties will be here waiting. And the clerk will tell you, I'm still busy. Meanwhile, the clock is ticking. And eventually it will come to what? It will come to 5. So if you don't also give something to the clerk, your bail form will not be taped, my friend. And you'll be taken back to prison. So you also have to do what? You also have to pay something. Then you go to the prison warders who are holding this fire. You get it? So for me, the whole system is rotten. The whole system is rotten.
The whole system is rotten.
The whole system is rotten. And we have to do away with it. And especially for us, those that oppose government, even before the magistrate makes a ruling, she has to first call the powers that be. She has to first call orders from above. And the orders from above will tell her whether you should be granted bail or you should be remanded. And these things are happening.
Okay.
You'll go to police and they'll tell you we have orders from above, no one should see you. We have orders from above, we shouldn't release you. We have orders from above, you should not eat anything when you're in detention. But I mean, why shouldn't the rights of prisoners be respected?
Thank you so much, Her Worship, Deputy Lord Mayor. Let's keep it right here for the Uganda We Want Part 1. We are going to be with her, and the Uganda We Want Part 2. And just, be ready to catch her up for the Uganda We Want Part 2. You've heard it. What is your responsibility as a Ugandan to say that you achieve the Uganda you want? My name is Robert Mnanzi.